Welcome to Looking for the Ocean, where we watch everything Pixar has ever made. That includes features, short films, tech demos, and more. I'm Danny Vincent, and as always, I'm joined by Mark Young. And I have a very special announcement to make about today's episode, which is... Lemmings, I got a feeling this journey might be as smooth as we hoped. Because you might not remember it, but tomorrow is everyone's favorite international holiday, April Fool's Day. Ergo...
Shout out to our listeners from Belgium.
Yeah, we're pranking you with a Norm of the North episode. Do.
Yeah, how did we arrive at this?
Well, to quote my other favorite actor in this movie, Bill Nighy, he once said in an interview with someone, "Why were you in Norm of the North?" And his response was, "I have not seen Norm of the North, but I have seen the dorm room door that it built."
Yeah, I don't know. That needs another draft.
My joke.
But, yeah. Well, a good lesson to learn from Norm of the North is that things just need to be much simpler.
Wow. Norm of the North is a 2016 film, the directorial debut of Trevor Wall, who, as far as I can tell, has never worked again. Since he showed up with Norm of the North and then he left. That was it. Oh no, I'm sorry. He directed several episodes of a Disney Junior show called Puppy Dog Pals, which apparently, just got canceled in January.
I don't think he has a Wikipedia page or anything like that.
No, he does. I was just on his Wikipedia page. But Trevor Wall, you know what? Maybe I should give more of a backstory of why we picked Norm of the North as our April Fool's joke.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
So, I don't even know how we got it, but when I was in college, Julius and I one year found a real theatrically sized Norm of the North poster, and I think that's very important because I think you can buy posters, whatever you want, from Walmart and stuff. But no, this was a legit Norm of the North poster from the movie theater, and we don't know how we got it really. I can't remember. I think it might have been a double-sided thing, you could get this on one side and it was another cheap animated movie on the other side. And we thought Norm of the North was funny, so we hung up that side. But I also don't know the whole story behind it. I can't remember.
So you had never seen it before you hung up that poster?
No, I hadn't. But it's... Well, actually, there are no kids. If you went to see a late showing of Puss in Boots right now, would have all the same trailers as... I can't give an example right now, I guess. Last November, okay? Last Christmas, if you wanted to see Strange World and then you saw Puss in Boots back to back, you'd probably get the exact same trailers in front of it. Because every kids movie gets the exact same trailers. And in 2016, everything is Norm of the North. They're advertising it everywhere. It looks bad always. And I think I remember very distinctly. I think I got the trailer once at Force Awakens. January 2016 is a fascinating transition period for Lionsgate because they just completed the Hunger Games. So now they're out of franchises and they're a couple years out from John Wick breaking out to become a franchise. Because 2019 is back when they get franchising. Because they have John Wick 3, which finally pushes that movie to an actual blockbuster instead of Taken level. And then you also have that year Knives Out, which of course they lose the sequel to. But at the time it's that would be a great new franchise for them,
Yeah,
But
2016 is a little late to be making bad kids animated movies.
They make bad kids animated movies every day, Mark. I'll tell you this: we're gonna watch some bad. There are a couple. One thing I'll say is, I don't know where you watch. If you watch this on Amazon Prime, but it ended on Amazon Prime for me. It's do you want to watch this next? And I was like, no, because that is a film we have as a detour because it's from a director of a Pixar thing. So they make bad animated movies all the time. It's just now they get shunted onto streaming.
Speaking of Amazon Prime, if you're listening to this on Friday, you might have one more day to watch Norm of the North because I think it actually leaves Amazon Prime on April 1st.
Yeah. So you got rushed over to watch Norm of the North. Now
you can be an hour and a half closer to death.
Before we talk about Norm of the North, I want to break down this poster. The poster that first off, did you watch this on Prime, Mark?
Yeah.
Did you notice that there were two versions of the film?
Not on Prime. I knew that in the world there were two versions of the film, but I didn't know that Prime gave me that option.
Well, I didn't know there were two versions of the film in the world. That's interesting to me. Wait, what? This makes no sense. The UK.
There's one where they made James Corden the polar bear actor for the UK.
But why would they change that? He's more famous than the guy they got. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
I'm even more perplexed now by this film.
I guess maybe it was they had incredible foresight to know that audiences in the U.S. wouldn't respond well to James Corden, so they just got the guy from Game of Thrones to do that voice part, and then put him back in the UK, where James Corden maybe is known for his theater work.
I hadn't opened this up yet. There's too many details on this page. They have too much information for me to process.
Yeah, the Wikipedia is great. It really goes into why they cast certain people. And Ken Jeong talks about how much everyone loved his character.
Well, we still got to talk about the poster first, because one thing I want to say about the poster that's on Wikipedia, which you can see, is that it features Norm wearing a New York shirt that he never wears in the entire film. And this is the poster that was on my dorm door. He never wears that shirt in this film. He doesn't have a shirt in this film. He's naked the entire time, with the exception of one scene where he goes, "I guess I'm coming out," and it's like, is this a gay joke, or they just not know how to write this scene? I can't tell if this is homophobic or if it's just confusing.
Well, I think it was homophobic. Unfortunately, I think the little turn of phrase there really got me. That might be one of the better written jokes in the movie.
There's one joke in it that had me laughing hysterically, but I can't remember it. I watched this at 9 p.m. last night, exhausted from work, but knowing I was going to sleep in today and not be awake in time to watch the movie before we recorded. So I watched this where I recorded it. I don't think I'm going to replay it back because I don't think it's going to go into the mic well. But I recorded it. I watched it. I watched it, and it was definitely something where about 10 minutes into it, I was like, hell yeah. Oh yeah, go Norm, you're doing it, yeah. Just to keep myself awake during it.
Is it the scene where he is fighting off the guy with the tranquilizer gun in the sushi restaurant?
No, it was way before that. It was like when he's jumping into the model home and it's being taken up. Like, hell yeah, Norm, you go to New York, yeah, do it. Oh no, Norm. I remember what had me laughing hysterically. It's a scene that doesn't make. I think it's designed to be a joke. It's just stupid. It's when she's like, the director quit, so I gotta shoot a new commercial version of this. Oh, sweet, I'm getting chased by a bear that's trying to kill me. This will make great. This will make people want to buy houses here. I just started laughing really bad at that. Because it's not even treated as a joke. It's like, yeah, of course. That's what people would want to do after they see this video.
I guess we should talk a bit about the plot of Norm of the North. There are a few different threads. One of the big
it's a very complicated movie.
Yeah, one of the big criticisms is that there is too much going on. Norm is a polar bear, and he's one of only 2 polar bears that can talk to humans.
Which is so weird to me. They could just have them all be able to talk to humans and just have it be a secret.
Yeah.
Why is it like a wild thornberries thing?
Yeah, it's not super important, but basically...
I mean, it is really important that he can talk, but it's weird that there's a distinction. Sorry, go on.
Well, no, I don't think it is important. I think it's like you said, if it was just a movie where people could talk to animals, it would just work better.
Oh, okay, that's what... Yeah, okay, yeah, go on then.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying a Barnyard or Toy Story thing. I'm just they should just all be able to talk. Yeah. That's my fix. But so early in the movie, we learn that the Green Company, and the boss is played by Ken Jeong, is trying to build houses in the Arctic, and they don't like this. They don't like having the houses there. So, and I think they just say because they don't like having people in the Arctic.
Well, no, because it's going to ruin the environment. There's a vague gesturing to climate change. Our home might be gone soon, but since Rob Schneider is a far-right person, it doesn't go beyond that.
Well, so they make these pre-made houses that they're building in the Arctic, and Norm's family doesn't like him because he can't hunt or something.
Well, okay. That's there, but we forgot to mention the best part about Norm, which is that we're introduced to him as he likes to dance. And this really never comes up. But there will be like
I think liking to dance is how he like gets work, kind of. There's an interesting...
every 12 minutes in this movie, it'll just be like randomly Norm will just start dancing. It'll be like, okay.
Yeah, this movie doesn't know. Yeah. So he likes to dance, and they're building these houses in the Arctic. He jumps onto one of the houses as they're pulling it away, and he rides the house on a boat back to New York because he's trying to stop them from building more houses. He doesn't go with Heather Graham. Like, she doesn't know he's there until he gets to New York, right?
Yeah. He tries to sell the Arctic to save the Arctic.
Yes.
So he gets several times in this film also.
So he gets to New York, and Heather Graham is a real estate salesperson who is there trying to sell these houses. And he goes back to New York, and he tries to get a job in the commercials for this real estate company. And then we kind of forget about his. Then it becomes a movie about him like trying to become famous. And
the internal logic makes no sense. He's like, I gotta become super famous and get these things to like these houses sold, because then I can be like, nah, this is stupid, and everyone will listen to me after they've already bought their houses.
Yeah, and then we remember that his grandpa has been missing, but apparently his grandpa, who is also able to talk to humans, was kidnapped by Mr. Green, who is the owner of the real estate company. And then at the end of the movie, he rescues his grandpa, and they go back to the Arctic, and they destroy the houses that are going to be shipped up there. And then they also reveal to everyone that the Green Company was actually corrupt because it was working with these people in the government who were opponents of protecting the climate or whatever. And there's also like
a Hillary Clinton cameo.
Yeah.
In a completely unrelated scene where they're just at a sushi bar.
What? She's at the sushi bar?
Yeah, she's at the sushi bar. She's just in the background. She doesn't have a line, but it's like so obviously like a character that's designed to be Hillary Clinton.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, and then the movie ends. I don't really remember.
He has kids with the girl who has like 2 lines in the movie. She's like, Norm, why don't you come back at some point? And then we cut back to him. He has 3 kids at the end.
Yeah, and I don't think. I mean, we could like rewatch it and dig into it, but I think I've kind of summed up the plot in a way that tells you what the experience of watching the movie is like.
You didn't mention Bill Nighy, who plays a bird with glasses who keeps talking about how they can't be infected. Like, he doesn't want the environment to be infected by humans, even though he somehow got glasses from the humans that he wears everywhere. I gotta assume.
Yeah, he shows up in the beginning of the movie. He's just kind of like a mentor figure and someone that Norm can talk to, who's not his brother, who's like an asshole. The thing that's really funny about this movie, and the reason that I stopped watching after 15 minutes and started watching Happy Feet and then watched all of Happy Feet and then came back to Norm of the North, is that the beginning of Norm of the North, the world before the plot, is that northern animals are like performing for humans so that they'll give them fish and protect the climate or whatever. So like Norm doesn't like the showbiz deceit of that because his brother,
though he dances more than anyone else does in this movie.
Yeah. That's like how the movie starts, is that everyone knows that all the animals are great dancers.
Well, the first thing in this movie that really confused me was we get the movie opens, okay, Norm is hunting an elephant seal. And he eventually, like, catches up, he's like, oh, you're too cute, I can't eat ya. And then he's like, let me tell you my tragic backstory. And it's like when he's a baby Norm, and there's this girl who's on her phone watching videos and like doing stuff. And I'm just like, hold up. I know this movie came out in 2016, So I got to assume at the time this is taking place in the future because Norm is like, I looked it up. Norm, I mean, I don't know if he has a canonical age, but I got to assume he's like, at least 10 years old, bear age, real life age. So if that scene's in 2006, it's inaccurate. That was my first thought with this movie. It's like, what?
You had a real Ratatouille moment of what time does this movie take place in?
Yeah, exactly. It's like these norms and actually, side tangent about another Lionsgate movie is because John Wick 4 came out last week, aka today when we're recording this. I've been running through the John Wick movies again, and so I'm often made fun of for having like these things where, not often, but there are a couple things among my friends where I'll see a movie and I'll say something afterwards. They'll be like, how did you miss that? The most famous one being in A Quiet Place, where I thought the kid who died was just a random kid that was hanging out with him. And then in the sequel, it's like, come over here, son. I'm like, what? That was their son the whole time who died?
Didn't we see Quiet Place together?
Yeah.
Did that never come up that he was, like, related to them?
No, it's never said. But I guess everyone just assumed it at the time. And it was just. But here's the thing. Here's my defense of that. I always assumed that kid was so dumb. There was no way it was their kid, because all the other two kids in the movie know to be quiet at the beginning of this pandemic or this world, and it takes place like 8 or 9 months into it. So it's like, how could this kid be so stupid 8 or 9 months into it to just like click a rocket ship to make a loud noise? So I just assumed he was like some kid they picked up in their journeys who died. What? I thought it made sense. This kid's stupid.
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
anyway. This is related to what I'm saying, because I was watching John Wick 2 earlier this week, and afterwards I'm on Twitter, and I don't remember who tweeted it, but someone, like, 'cause everyone's tweeting about John Wick this week because the new one's out. It's like, I wish I lived in the world where Buster Keaton movies are just projected on the side of the wall in Times Square, and I was like, wait, what? So you've seen John Wick 2, right?
Yeah.
I always assumed that opening scene was like in Tokyo or something, not in New York. And the reason why is I always watch those movies back to back, and John Wick 1 has such a different aesthetic than the other two. And John Wick 1 obviously takes place in New York. So when it cuts to this like neon vision of what I guess now is New York, I always just assumed it was like, okay, so he's like overseas and his cars got shipped overseas somewhere. But no, it's apparently New York, and I never knew that.
Yeah. The 2 and 3 kind of blend together for me because of what you mentioned. The aesthetic is so different.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Where he gets the car back.
Yes.
Did you think that was New York?
I don't remember. That's what I'm saying. Is I have no memory of 2 and 3 really, except for a few fight scenes. And the time when he gets. I mean, there are like moments, but I'm just saying I guess maybe I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm just like, 2 and 3 are a blur.
Okay. Norm of the North. What do we think of the movie? Let's give it a review.
I had a bad time. So neither of us have watched this before last night?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought this was way better than I expected. 3 out of 10. But the reason sorry, go on. No, the reason I say that is, I don't know about you, but with my job being what it's been for the last, since like 2015, I've seen my fair share of really bad kids animated movies. And the fact that I can get ironic enjoyment out of this one is good, because a lot of the time you watch something like this and it's just like, you don't get, like, to me it's like, it's kind of funny right now that, like, she's running away from, like, this at least is like stupid at points, and I can enjoy the stupidness of it. It's not like the Emoji Movie where you're like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna watch the Emoji Movie and see how shitty it is. It's like, and then you're just given like the most generic thing ever. This is like generic, like, structurally, but it has a lot of weird stuff going on within it. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'm down to watch this somewhat like cursed material. I guess that's a way to put it.
Yeah, I guess so. I had a very hard time making it through.
I mean, I think it does, like, around, like, the time when, like, the third act happens, I'm like, all right, we're done here. And it's like, there's 30 minutes left in this movie, and I'm like, okay. Up until the Shut Up and Dance montage, which, by the way, as I said, I was very interacting with the movies yesterday. When that started playing, I was like, oh, yeah, and I just got up and started dancing along with the movie.
Good. Were you, like, drunk when this was happening?
No, I was just very tired.
You should have made an evening of it.
I was like, oh yeah, I love this song. And I just stood up and I was like, shut up and dance. And then they did like that weird audio cut in the middle of the song. And I was like, I guess I just didn't have the animation done, so.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I feel like they wanted Norm of the North to be like a huge movie.
I'm sure they wanted to make money off of like I'm sure they wanted to make money off of its low budget. What is its budget? It opened up against 13 Hours and the Ride Along 2. $18 million. Also, the thing is, like, it does look bad, but the only time the animation looks absolutely terrible to me, I have a weird shot to call out. It's when the boat is coming in the harbor and it like turns, and it very clearly is just they're adjusting the model to turn. It's not like an actual like turn at all. It's just like a whoop. Yeah. I guess I'm on a video. I'm doing like something on my hands right now. No one can see it.
Well, no, I get what you mean. I mean that was. I'm pretty forgiving of that actually, because I will enjoy something that is like low budget animation if you make good choices, and that was what threw me off about this, is that like no one is like acting like they're talking, and that really bothers me, especially Ken Jeong's character, who I keep bringing up because I was reading the Wikipedia page and he was like, everyone liked my character, that's surprising to like a villain, and I guess that came from the Lionsgate press release rather than like the world. But it's amazing that you could make this thing and it's just like completely disconnected from the performances.
I have a theory about his character, and that's because of his design. But there's a moment in the movie, I think it's when he's like during the fight at the sushi restaurant, and he like gives this yelp that sounds like an animal noise, and I swore, and before that happened I was like, his character design just looks like a monkey. And then when he did that I was like, okay, so we're gonna get a reveal at the end like that he's a monkey that can talk, and he wants to ruin the Arctic because people have already ruined the rainforest or something like that. And then it was like, no, he's just going to be thrown in the sewer where his ponytail is going to swish back and forth like a snake at the end. And that's the movie. And I was like, they should have gone for the monkey twist.
It's difficult. I know that you said you watch a lot of crap, but
I think there are worse things to show your children. Would I pick Norman the North to show my kid? No. If my kid got if my kid got obsessed with Norman the North, watching it over and over again, would I be concerned? Yes, I'd probably stay home. I'd take a few days off work, be like, let me show you some real movies, and hopefully I can get you addicted to one of these instead. Mm-hmm. But if in January 2016, I was a father of like a 6-year-old kid, and we went to see Norman the North, and my kid enjoyed it, I'd be like, okay. And I would never think about the movie again, and I wouldn't be too bothered about it. It's not like the Emoji Movie where if I did that, I'd leave it, I'd be like, I'm so mad I watched that. Or like, honestly, here's my hot take that I've pretty sure I've dropped from this podcast before. No, I haven't. People who know me. I enjoyed this pretty much more than any Despicable Me movie. This was a much better made film than any of them. So it actually has a plot and a likable character. That being, of course...
Which one is likable?
The Lemmings.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty likable. Because they keep dying.
You don't like the Minions?
The Minions are shit. I fucking hate the Minions. If I could kill them all, I would. There's only one Minion I like, and it's Otto. It's the Minion from the new one.
Of the Minions.
Well, it's the Minion from the new one that has braces, where like the plot of the new Minion movie, which I told you, as long-time listeners of the podcast might remember, features a scene where the Minions hijack a plane, and it's a joke, and it's really nice that we've got to that point where we can do that. But those are the other 3 Minions. There's a 4th Minion in it named Otto, because the plot of the Minion movie is they're like going after this medallion MacGuffin, and basically they assume the medallion is gone, and that's literally all they need to do to trade is to get Gru back. So the 3 main Minions are on a journey just to catch up with the people who kidnapped Gru, okay? And then the 4th Minion, Otto, is the one who lost the medallion, who very quickly gets the medallion back, which is what makes this entire plot funny, because if the other 3 had just waited, this whole thing would have been resolved way sooner. So then this other Minion and the other is alone, just trying to follow the other Minions. And that Minion is the one I like. Otto's a cool Minion.
Well, Norman.
They should make a movie where Norm and Otto hang out.
I don't know, if it was fast-paced, and maybe I'm not well-versed in, like, what is worse in the world, but that's really all I can say for this movie, is that the jokes kept coming, and it didn't hold too long on anything, but it was really hard for me to keep paying attention from one scene to the next because of all the things we've already mentioned about how everything's disconnected and things like that. I don't know. I feel like it's just I had a bad time. I watched 2 movies in the time between when I started and finished Norm of the North because I had to wash my brain out.
The thing also about Norm of the North is that it's bad. But
it is bad. How would we fix it? Oh well.
Yeah, I just want to make it. Yeah, I just want to make a movie titled Norm. Can I also say one other thing I noticed, even though I guess I didn't really I could have rewinded and double checked, but I'm pretty sure he's introduced everyone as Norm of the North before he ever says what his name is to anyone. Like, I'm pretty sure Heather Graham walks in and goes like, "May I introduce to you Norm of the North?" And he never introduced himself to her. He's just like, "Hi, I'm a polar bear actor." It's like, okay, come on in. But
yeah.
I don't want to defend it too much because it is a bad movie. But it's just like, I don't know. It's so weird. And okay, here's the other comparison point: is I don't know if you know the movie The Nut Job, but I've seen The Nut Job.
I've heard of that.
And you'd expect it to be like of the same vein of Norm of the North. But the difference is The Nut Job is like terrible. And Norm of the North is just bad.
I'm amazed. I really thought we were gonna come on here and just tear apart Norm of the North. And you were
I was having I had a good time with it. It was very fun. Until the last half. Whenever they played a top 40 song, I was like, oh yeah, there's their budget. Yeah, that was the part I recorded actually. I don't remember because it was like I was like, yeah, Norm, yeah, do it. And then Geronimo started playing. I was like, Geronimo. I'm pretty sure that's where all the budget went to, is getting the rights to Geronimo and Shut Up and Dance. I also was very surprised because I got the DVD off from the library, okay, because I didn't know it was on Prime. And so I watched all the bonus features, but one of the bonus features I noticed on the back was do the Arctic Shake music video. So I just assumed this came out at the time the Harlem Shake was a thing, and the Arctic Shake was like, do the Arctic Shake, and it was just an original song.
Yeah, the Harlem Shake was earlier, I think, too. I think this movie was like trying. Apparently, according to Amazon, this thing took 6 years to make.
I think
they were trying to capitalize on trends from the past, and dancing penguins and other things being at the front of the public consciousness.
Now we pause talking about Norm of the North. Let's talk about the DVD of Norm of the North. First, did you watch the trailer I told you to watch? Because I texted you.
Yeah.
Did you think that movie looks great? By great, I mean terrible.
I think it looks. I think if that was not in English, I would be very interested in that movie. But I think the English acting and the dialogue really grated on me. But I thought it was. I mean,
that was
like, it
really
has some wacky moments, but I was really intrigued by that world. We're talking about Beyond Beyond. Yeah,
so Beyond Beyond is a movie that I haven't even looked up other than this trailer that was on the Norm of the North DVD because I was curious. Because really, the reason I let these trailers play was because Norm of the North is a Lionsgate movie in 2016, and Lionsgate is not famous for their animated movies. So I'm like, what possible trailers could they have on this DVD? Like, what, and it's stuff like Beyond Beyond, like I said, and there's like, I think a trailer for like Alpha and Omega 4 and 5, and then the Shaun the Sheep movie, which is actually good. Like, Lionsgate put out one good animated movie, and I guess it's the Shaun the Sheep movie. But the thing that stuck out to me about the Beyond is that they named their, I think then they named like their evil, their other world, the Feather Kingdom, and then they repeat the word the Feather Kingdom multiple times over and over again in it. Oh, this is a Swedish film. It's just been dubbed.
They identify that creature as the Feather King.
Well, this movie sounds mediocre. I'm sorry that you're excited.
We know so little about it, but it looks cool. It looks like the Ollie's Chance kids.
Well, I'm looking up the Rotten Tomatoes score out of curiosity. It only has 2 grades logged.
I believe it's a 22%.
How can it be a 22% if they only have 2 reviews for Beyond Beyond?
I don't know. I just remember I thought I looked through it and I read that, but I may be thinking of another film.
No, it's got a 50% because there's only 2 reviews logged, and one of them is positive and one of them is negative. But
well, yeah, I'd like to watch that movie. I think, yeah, I don't know. Do we want to like talk about why Norm of the North sucks?
So there are bonus features, all right? The bonus features are deleted scenes, do the Arctic Shake music video, which is, just basically all the clips of Norm dancing edited to the song. Something else which we'll just go in order. Deleted scenes. I'm going to read you the number of deleted scenes, and I want you to guess what the total runtime of these deleted scenes were. I want to give you a caveat. All these scenes that are deleted are fully animated. They are not storyboards. They are fully finished scenes that they deleted from the movie. So these scenes are flashback, Norm surprises a little girl. Grandpa loses his temper. Socrates remembers Grandpa. Stan's broken heart. Showtime with Stan. Confused Taurus. Slivering Green. Green's evil plan. Green in the Polar Bear Council celebration dance. So that's 9 scenes. How long do you think it took for me to watch these scenes?
10 minutes.
4 minutes and 35 seconds.
Wow.
All of these are just alternate takes, with the exception of Slivering Green and the dance, because the dance is just a scene where a separate scene where he's like, "We've got the approval," to the council, "Hooray!" and they just dance, and it's like, okay, you can cut this because you don't need it.
Sounds like Norm of the North had a pretty packed DVD.
I mean, because here's my thing. All these are listed as look at how many bonus features you have, and then it totals about maybe overall probably 8 minutes of bonus features. It's just also separated out so it looks like more than it is.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's something called That's Funny, the best one-liners of Norm of the North, which is just a montage of all the jokes of the movie with no context. And it's 2 minutes long, and none of them are funny.
Wow, I'm amazed because I think of Norm of the North as a string of unrelated one-liners, so that they could pick out 2 minutes worth of that.
These are the good ones, kids.
Montage reel. That's amazing.
And then the last thing was the Polar Challenge, which I took, which is a quiz about polar bears, and I got 86% on it. I got 2 wrong.
Which were the 2 that you got wrong, so we can protect the listeners?
They're all true or false questions, and one of them was penguins can go up to this speed, and I was I think they can go faster, so false, and it was nope, that's the limit, and I was dang it. And I don't know what the other one was, but it was the first question they asked, and I got mad I got it wrong immediately. Oh, I know what it was. I thought polar bears didn't have webbed feet, or at least they weren't called webbed feet. I thought if they weren't that wasn't what they were labeled. But yeah, those were the bonus features on the Norm of the North DVD.
Those sound very pleasant.
It's only 8 minutes long.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but there's a variety there. At least it wasn't you could do I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I guess that it's better than nothing, and at least it's new content.
I mean, but it's not new content. Well, it's literally one of its 2 minutes of here's a montage of the best jokes in our movie.
You're right. I have nothing good to say.
Or it's the deleted scene is an alternate take where Socrates, the Socrates from my grandpa. I watched that. I was I'm trying to figure out what here is new. I think it's just Socrates going "Oh yes, your grandpa had this gift too, but he didn't use it well." And I think it's just "but he didn't use it well" is what's added to this deleted scene. It's this is delete this. This is literally an extra bit of line you cut for some reason, because there's no reason Norm of the North can't be 94 minutes long rather than 90 minutes. It's not like you were intensely testing this movie. He's this will greatly improve the film if we cut this dance scene that we finished.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a positive about Norm of the North, is that it has a sense of 3-act structure. Even though nothing is connected, it is oh well, about 3/4 of the way through the movie, everything's gonna be lit dark and everyone's gonna be sad, and before that we're gonna have an action set piece, and before that we're going to have a dance number. So I can see them going through it at the end and being oh well, we have one too many dance numbers in here, we'll take out that one, or this take doesn't I guess
it's just weird to think that this movie had care put into it, even though I'm sure there was care put into it.
I think there was care put into it, but it's all disconnected. I feel like Norm of the North is if you took the movies that you say you hate, the Nut Job and the Minions and the Emoji Movie, and then they were three or four different movies, and then because of so many notes, they had to combine a bunch of these different bad movies into one movie, and that's how we got Norm of the North. And that's why Norm of the North is fast-paced and maybe you say not as bad as some of these other movies, because it's just combining pieces from
it's all the
other
good
bad
stuff
things
and all the bad stuff combined. But since there's more good stuff, I like it more, even if there's more bad stuff. Well, no, it's about the same level of bad stuff, you know.
What is a good stuff?
The dancing. Just leave it. That's like, there's good dancing.
Yeah. It's nice that they thought of a dance.
I mean, I get that you don't like the character, and the character is annoying, but I do think that Ken Jeong's voice performance here is like way more engaged than anyone else in this movie. Where I can see why like if they were like, yeah, you tested the best, it's like, yeah, because Ken Jeong is the only one who actually feels like he wants to be here voice wise. Mm-hmm. And also he's the only one you're doing like an actual animation style with, where like his arms move like very wavily, whereas everyone else is like, you know, very stiff movement. So inherently he sticks out just because it's like, okay, like you're trying something here that isn't just, I'm Norm and I like to dance. I hope they don't ruin my home. Oh no. Yeah.
It's funny, I forget that Rob Schneider does have a pretty good voice, but
the thing is, I don't even like Ken Jeong is the only voice actor here that I really recognize. Whenever I have to think this is Rob Schneider, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I haven't watched a lot of Rob Schneider stuff, because this is just whatever to me. It's just, that's Norm.
How do you think that, like, should we keep watching this movie? Should we like pass this on to our children?
No.
Or, okay. Good.
I think that what we should do is take the lessons of it as lifelong lessons and always remember them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy houses in the Arctic, and charter school's bad. Which is an entire thing we didn't touch on in this.
Yeah, well, this movie's full of the kind of politics of someone. That's I kind of.
It definitely has some politics in here. God.
Well, I'm trying to think of it, because what it really is just like hack politics. I feel like this is someone that is, you know, well known if you're in like performing arts and stuff like that. It seems to be made by people who hate everyone and think that they're like right about everything, and they, you know, are kind of like right-leaning, and they'll lash out at green energy corporations or like the intelligentsia for whatever reason, and that all annoys me, because it's like, I don't know, I could watch a film like that, but it's also just like the most common stupid joke that you can make if you're not trying to write anything.
I think it's interesting to make that connection to Mr. Green, because I guess now I can see like him as like, because now you're back like in January 2016, right? When you say that, because in January 2016, yes, now you mentioned it, I guess he is probably like viewed as like, because well, I'll be very honest, like right now, Elon Musk is like, well, we all hate him, but like in January 2016, we're like, oh yeah, that guy's like cool, all right for a rich guy, you know, he seems okay, you know, people weren't like, didn't reveal his truth. So I guess like, yeah, Mr. Green can come off as like now I watch it like, oh, it's just like, you know, a Trump guy, you know, like a Trump villain in a kids movie. But now it's like, oh yeah, I guess I could see like the new age stuff being like, you know, obviously it's a parody of the Steve Jobs person, but to me also it's just real estate. I'm like, okay, so Trump, and it's Green Tower, so it's like Trump. But actually, you know what the funniest gag in this movie is? Side note, sorry, this just popped in my head talking about this. Is it's after that scene I keep mentioning, the scene that I start talking during, is when the model home like gets put on New York, and it just goes down this like road that is way too wide for any road in New York City. And I was like, what? Like they're not even trying to make this like look like New York.
Yeah. When was that? Like when he comes back?
When he comes to New York for the first time, the model home's like put on a car that's like driven down like a road, but the road is like insanely wide because the house is super wide, and it's like, but it's like clearly like it's not like a suburb, it's clearly driving into like Manhattan, and it's like, what? What road are you on that this is something you can do in New York?
Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's a fairly good representation of New York, at least the New York that I extremely dislike.
Actually,
which is very like big and clean and full of rich evil people. It's very much like NBC in the morning New York.
I felt like it was not crowded enough to be New York ever to me. It always felt too, and I think I'm sure that's because it's, you know, animation's cheap, but the animation, like, it's just very sparse environments. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a cheapness thing.
What do you think of Vera?
I had a moment where I was like, Heather Graham, that's right. She's fine. It's very hard to care about her. Everyone in this movie just seems terrible. And I know I complained about them earlier for making everyone terrible. So it's like, what, you know, can I imagine them being some other way other than the way that they're written? But I can't. And I just am frustrated by her. Like, why is she part of this evil organization? She seems so stupid. There's a moment, well, everyone's stupid. Everyone just assumes Norma's in a very good suit. Which is another thing with whatever, it's a kid's movie. That's something where it's like, you know, there are actual issues with this movie, so I don't care about like the suspension of disbelief on that thing. But there's a moment pretty late on in the movie where, but not like in the third act, before the third act, where the daughter is talking to Norm, and he's like, Norm's like, your mom's doing this because she cares for you. And, like, the girl says something, I can't remember, it really, I wish I had written it down. She says something where it's like, I just wish she'd spend more time with me. And it's like, no, you don't. Like, that's not what her story's been. The story's been that you want to get into this thing and you think you're confident enough to do it on your own. The story here is that your mom isn't confident in you. It's not that she doesn't want to spend time with you. And I got really upset at that. Was like the moment. That's the one moment where I was like, "That's stupid." Like, have they not been watching the movie they've given us up to this point? This is not a problem she has. If anything, her mom cares too much about her. She's not asking for mom to come home. She's asking for mom to trust in her ability to do things. Got me Even
very
though
upset.
She already does. I mean,
but she doesn't trust her enough to get into that school on her own without Mr. Green's help.
But she can't, though. You need a recommendation to be able to get into that school. It's not some vague thing. She says it's stupid, but she says that you need a recommendation letter from alumni. This film really does go out of its way to present some hard goals to be achieved. There's that line at the end where it's like, we have to get these boats to the Arctic because once they're built, you have to keep financing them because of the terms of the contract, and that creates the stakes so that Norm and his dad have to go save the...
Grandpa.
Yeah, Grandpa. Norm and his grandpa have to go destroy the boat or whatever. I would just say that about that. The movie knows when it's like, whoops, we have to create a goal here. Another really funny moment with movies in the third act, when, you know, they're on that boat, it's really dramatic, and Norm, like, starts sinking, and then we get a really dramatic, like, montage of basically the entire film up to that point, where I think one thing was out of order, and it really threw me that, like, they weren't going in order. We go through that whole montage, and then Norm closes his eyes, and we cut to black, and I was like, dang, that's hardcore. Yeah.
The movie kept going. I was like, oh, never mind. No, I think it cuts first though to Mr. Green being like, yes, I succeeded. So it's like, dang. Did you like Mr. Green? I said I thought he was the best part of this, other than the Lemmings. He did get annoying at points. And I do want to mention other deleted scenes. The one thing I forgot to mention that I do want to mention is the slivering one, which is like, I said there were two things they cut out, like that are not just alternate takes. One of them is the dance scene, but then there's the slivering scene where it's like, he goes, that person smells like polar bear, and he goes to his secret lair, and, you know, in the movie proper, he just goes to talk to, like, his secretary. In this deleted scene, it's like a solid 45 seconds of him, like, sniffing on the ground, slivering like a snake, and there's, like, no actual bit to it other than, like, the overlongness of it. And I was like, this is bizarre. I don't, like, this feels to me more like an animation test that they decided, like, maybe we can put this in the film, and then they tested it, like, nah, it's too weird. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, you say that Ken Jeong sounds like he wants to be there, but I just feel like he was miscast. I mean, sure. He plays it a little too real. Everyone is a little miscast. I think Bill Nighy probably got very paid for it because he gets the end credit, but it's also like, why is Bill Nighy why did Bill Nighy feel like he had to be here?
I mean, you gotta. It's like fine work, I guess. I don't. There's nothing about this which is exceptionally repulsive. So why not take the money? And like Bill Nighy, to me, along with like dramatic things he's done, and people know him from what is the movie
Pirates
Valentine's
of the Caribbean. Oh,
well, people know I'm like building to Pirates.
Love Actually. Love Actually.
My favorite role is Davy Jones. Yeah. Is that like what a fun part that would have been. He's fine with me, but so I watched The Sweatbox, which we talked about last episode, and it's about the making of The Emperor's New Groove and how there was a big shift in the middle when they switched their director and they just changed the story around a lot. And it made me pretty sympathetic for this movie. So I hate it, but I also get that just like there could just be so many notes that you're not going to make anything coherent or whatever unless you have a very strong hand. And I feel maybe this is diagnosing from afar, but I feel like Trevor Wall maybe was not the guy to bring all these things together.
I'm curious if he was always, because there's really no detailed production. It does feel like the type of animated movie where it's really like the studio's first really big attempt, and so they're constantly bringing in new people, and the person with the director credit is like the last person to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's very possible, but also it could just be, me assuming, and I shouldn't assume because we all know Norm of the North, if it's taught us anything, it's never to assume.
Speaking of company oversight, I was watching something before we came on about the Norm of the North Twitter account.
Yes, we need to talk about the Norm of the North Twitter account.
We should give a bit of context about that. I don't know. The video made sort of a compelling case that it may have all been a stunt by Lionsgate, but basically, if you don't know what the Norm of the North Twitter account was, it's the Norm of the North Twitter account. Yeah, well, it's still up, but it's like dead pretty much now. For a long time, it was just a corporate Twitter account posting things about the movie, and then about a year ago, it started posting like deranged things, like with new Norm in a Supreme jacket, and it would just post things like they'll let me tweet whatever I want, and like Norm has type 2 diabetes.
The last tweet it has is, "I just got a call from Lionsgate. This is the end." That's from last October.
I thought it was from this past December. Isn't that December 22?
October 9th, 2022. That's the last tweet.
Okay. Oh, well,
but like,
okay.
Norm of the North was an inside job. Norm likes his ice pick.
Yeah, I'm sad now because I did see something that was pretty much like they wouldn't let this thing exist if it wasn't some corporate scheme. But I don't know. It's something to go check out if you ever want some giggles.
I mean, I get that, but it's also just like I do think it's a bit. Because I see now in June 2021, Lionsgate has a tweet, okay, where it says, "What 5 film," and it's like written in the same like lowercase style the rest of the Norm count is. "What 5 movies are you confident you've seen at least 10 times? 1, Norm of the North. 2, Norm of the North, Kings of the Kingdom. 3, Norm of the North, King Size Adventure. 4, Norm of the North, Family Vacation. 5, American Psycho." And so I do think it probably is a bit, but like, no one bought Norm of the North because of this. Like no one was like,
I think we're here because of that, though.
No, we're here because of the poster.
Well, there's the poster, and then I don't know. I feel like the tweets gave the poster meaning. Like the tweets made the film seem extra bad, and that's why we're here years later. It would be fine if you just had the poster, but it wasn't just like, you had a poster of this bad movie, but it wasn't like legendary. The tweets have kept our interest alive.
This was definitely a bit, because you can see during all this, they're advertising still the direct-to-video sequels at points. There's a bit of corporate synergy here, even though I think this might have been... No, this was after Netflix bought it, but there's a tweet that goes, Norm has joined the cast of Knives Out 2, which to me is very subtly good. But then, this is the big one, Lionsgate, on April 21st, 2021, their prank is a script that says confidential Lionsgate from Lionsgate Legal Department. Subject: John Wick 4 script. 1. Do not share the following working script. 2. Do not give it to your social media managers, as their recent actions have led to major PR legal issues. And it says, John Wick Chapter 4, working title, Baba Yaga of the North. It says, topical.
Yeah. Well,
it's a good bit, though. I still think it's a good bit. I support the Norm of the North bit.
Yeah. I mean, that is just kind of how Lionsgate tweets. What are your other thoughts about Norm of the North?
Well, I want to get back to this thing about Lionsgate, because you just mentioned it. Well, I do think it's interesting to look at Norm of the North in the context of Lionsgate, and where Lionsgate is today. Because my mom, earlier this week, went to see The Jesus Revolution, and she told me I should go check it out. I probably won't. But she's like, there's a lot of Lionsgate movies coming out, because that's a Lionsgate movie. And it's like, when you see a movie that's from the studio, you get more trailers from that studio than any other studio. And so I was like, you're right, because I went to see Operation Fortune Rouge de Guerre, which is another Lionsgate film, last week, and I was very surprised I didn't get the John Wick 4 trailer. So John Wick 4 is Lionsgate. You'd think that's like the same audience. But we're in this time right now where Lionsgate is this weekend probably having a huge opener. And this November, my big hot box office take this year, you ready for it? I think domestically, the new Hunger Games movie will be in the top 5 of the year. Because I think, unlike Fantastic Beasts, where Fantastic Beasts, didn't do well because it was what people wanted from Harry Potter, was the characters. I think what people always like, even though people liked Katniss, what people liked about the Hunger Games movies were the literal Hunger Games. And this movie is about a literal Hunger Games. And it's from the guy who made the first ones. And I think there is like a weird amount of nostalgia for the Hunger Games as a franchise. So I think the Hunger Games movie will do quite well, even if it is a prequel. But anyway, Lionsgate's in this interesting thing right now where it's like, holy shit, they have so many movies coming out. I don't know where I'm going with this other than Lionsgate. They exist. Do you know that Lionsgate had one of their only Best Picture nominees the same year Norm of the North came out?
No.
It's La La Land. Also, another one I had in mind to maybe do as an April Fool's one. Maybe we'll do it down the road, not next year, because we already have next year's locked and loaded. But when I was a child, we went to see Happily Never After because I demanded we see a kids movie, and it was terrible. And that's also Lionsgate. I'm looking at Lionsgate's franchises. Let's go through. I'm gonna go through them very quickly.
I like Pacific Rim, but even Pacific Rim is kind of like
Pacific Rim isn't Lionsgate. That's Warner Brothers.
Oh.
So going through Lionsgate, I will tell you
who did Lions. What?
I will tell you Lionsgate's franchises right now. I'm skipping the acquired ones because that removes Twilight, and I'm skipping the. Well, you know what? I'll just keep the ones. I'll just say them all. Les Boys, American Psycho, Cube, Leprechaun, but that begins in 2003. Because they acquired it from someone. Saw, which is probably their best franchise. The Punisher, Hostel, Medea, very successful franchise for them. They apparently had the direct-to-video rights to the Marvel animation in the 2000s. Happily Never After, Twilight, Rambo, but 2008 onward. Alpha and Omega, The Expendables, Sinister, The Hunger Games, Step Up, Now You See Me, Escape Plan, John Wick, Divergent, Sicario, Norm of the North, Blair Witch, Rock Dog, Hitman's Bodyguard, Hellraiser, but that's a new Hellraiser and Children of the Corn. They only had distribution rights briefly, and then they lost Knives Out, and then they got Clerks 3. I think it's pretty clear that John Wick and Hunger Games are like the good ones in there, and then there's everything else.
Well, even John Wick and the Hunger Games are like, they're fun action, but like, they're not. I don't know. I really like John Wick, and I remember liking the Hunger Games, but they haven't stuck with me as being like, oh man, the Hunger Games, big part of my life.
I do want to revisit the Hunger Games though, because the Hunger Games they weren't like a big part of my life, but they were a big part of the zeitgeist when they were coming out, But even that, it's kind of like John Wick is fun because of how it plays with the genre, and Hunger Games I think was just surprising because of how energetic those movies are. But again, they're like. Well, those movies were huge. This was always crazy. The Hunger Games movies were like the biggest thing when they were coming out. Like people don't realize this, but like the Hunger Games, the first two, made more money than any Harry Potter movie ever did, at least in the U.S. So in the U.S., they were bigger deals than Harry Potter, which is crazy. What I was gonna say also with Hunger Games, which I think is related to North of the North, which is, I said this trailer was, I'm pretty sure, with Star Wars. I think it was also with the last Hunger Games movie, and it would have been attached to it because it was a Lionsgate movie. So it's just like crazy. Like those are two like huge movies. Although Hunger Games last one disappointed at the box office a little bit, but actually, if you ever look at the box office of like October and November 2015, it's really interesting because everything besides from The Martian's like the last movie to do well then, and then from The Martian to Star Wars, everything does under expectations because everyone's too excited for Star Wars to go see another movie. Just a really fascinating like thing about the hype of Star Wars that it made Hunger Games disappoint. It made Spectre disappoint. Although Spectre's quality also kind of made it disappoint too. All right, I don't know this side. It's North of the North,
We can wrap it up with North of the North. I don't mind not saying very much about North of the North. I think a big thing for me was I watched Happy Feet, and then I just wanted to talk about Happy Feet because
I watched Intergalactic.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch the one thing you told me to watch.
I mean, it's okay. We don't need to talk about that anyway. It's not.
Yeah, but
fine.
I mean, that's just what it is. If you want to have a better time, go watch Happy Feet.
Or Intergalactic.
Well,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sorry, go on.
I'm saying that because Norm of the North is making fun of other movies. Norm of the North doesn't seem to know much about the world except for like cliches of working in Hollywood. So go watch Nope. Which
Nope of the North
does everything
or is
better.
it Nope of the Nope? Which one?
I think it's got to be Nope of the North. Okay. But I don't know what that means. But yeah, what do you? I'm gonna give this film a DVD of Happy Feet.
There are a lot of options here. I could give it an extended cut that it adds 2 minutes to the film, because really that 4 minutes and 35 seconds includes so much like recap of like the scene actually in the movie, so it's probably like 2 minutes at the most. I could give this film a, I'm not going to say it, but it's April Fool's Day. I'm giving it a fucking Wolf Beaver cushion. Like that's what it gets.
Magical. So Danny, what are we doing next time?
We're doing what I said we're going to do this time. We're going to do Presto and Your Friend the Rat.
Oh, I'm excited for these.
Yeah. Not in that order. The other way around. It doesn't really matter, I guess, what order we watch. This was produced, this not this episode, but this film, North of the North, by the way, was produced by Mike Young, which sounds like your evil twin.
Remember, everyone, see you on the other side, whichever side that ends up being, which is a line that Cole Meany says to Norm. Looking for the Ocean is produced by Mark Young and Danny Vincent. Our original artwork was done by Sarah Knopf, and each episode is edited by me.
If you'd like to be notified about new episodes, you can find us on Facebook at Looking for the Ocean A Pixar Journey, on Twitter at Pixar Journey, on Instagram at Looking for the Ocean Pod, and on our website, lookingfortheoceanpixar.podbean.com.
If you want to know what I'm up to, or find me on social media, you can head over to markyoungperformer.com.
And if you'd like to see all my takes on all the movies, you can find me on Letterboxd at Blankmans. If you'd like to hear me on another podcast, I also have The Snub Club, a podcast about film history. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.